This is the Analysis in Chains with Nathan Williams and Neil Kieran.
Welcome to Analysis in Chains. I'm Nathan Williams. Neil, happy Monday. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Nathan. Life is good in crypto. Things feel a bit more positive again. There's a nice vibe out there whenever you go on Twitter, Reddit, or wherever you get your latest news on crypto. Yeah, I'm feeling good. You?
I'm tired. I've had such a full couple of weeks, man. I was at the Crypto Assets Conference earlier this week. That was pretty intense.
Cool. Anything interesting from it?
Oh yeah, well. I mean, this is the one that we've been advertising for the past the past month. They had 55 speakers there. It was some pretty high-profile people. It was pretty awesome. I participated in a startup pitch, and I won gold. That was good.
Well, hey, congratulations! On a roll.
I am on a roll. There were not too many participants, but still, we came in first, and the prize was we get a little badge, a little gold star badge in our Ethereum wallet. So I'm looking forward to having that immutable proof that I've won this contest until the rest of time.
Awesome.
Yeah, I feel I've learned more this week about how projects work and like even the technical side, but also like the legal side, just from the people I've been talking to than I had in months. You know, it's one thing researching things on your own. It's another thing talking to people who've been in the industry for a few years now, you know? So for example, like the first night we were there, I had an interesting conversation with Gordon Einstein, who's senior partner at Crypto Law Partners in Los Angeles. And he's very, very knowledgeable in this sort of thing. So I was talking to him about, I'm not sure what jurisdiction I should run my ICO in, and which one is best. And a lot of lawyers give me sort of a lawyerly answer, which is not helpful. And what he told me was, what's interesting is it doesn't matter that much, because if you find, like, say you set up an ICO in Gibraltar and then the laws change, because it's a token, you can very easily change jurisdictions by what he called Pac-Manning the other tokens. One token just eats the other one. So when you set up the company, he says you put in a line in your agreement that you have with all your shareholders saying, well, look, I'm going to remake the company if the regulations change in a different jurisdiction that's more favorable. And then if you've got 1 million tokens out, you create a new structure that's analogous in a different jurisdiction, create 1 million tokens and offer a 1-for-1 exchange and offer a limited time to exchange them. And if people want to exchange, they can get the new tokens. If they want to hold on to their other ones, which will be valueless, they can do that too. And I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting. And I guess I'm wondering if we will see it happen much in the future, because jurisdictions will be playing a big part in the future for the future of crypto. Because if we think of tech in general today, people think of Silicon Valley. And one of the reasons why Silicon Valley is so successful is down to various local laws, but also because of the healthy VC private equity culture that they have there in terms of the amount of capital people can invest into startups. In crypto, it's different because it's really down to laws, and people are attracted to different parts of the planet based on the favorable laws they have in crypto. And one of the most favorable places right now is Switzerland. And there's a place there called Crypto Valley, and you have, I think, 30-40 prominent blockchain companies based there. And this is very healthy for crypto to have all these companies close to each other. It means that they're always swapping ideas, similar to Silicon Valley. And I think over time we will start to see a place emerge as being the de facto valley of crypto. Ideally, it's decentralized and it is all over the planet, but there will be parts of the world just offering those favorable conditions for blockchain companies, and it's going to be very interesting to see where it emerges. I think crypto world will prefer if it's not in Silicon Valley or USA, and I think they would like it to be spread in different hubs all over the world, like Gibraltar, Switzerland are the most famous ones. Then you have Malta as well, and I'm very excited to see where it emerges, because I think tech has become too centralized in Silicon Valley, and it's very, very important that there are many prominent locations around the world, because it means it's more accessible. If you want to get involved in blockchain, you don't have to just fly to Silicon Valley. You can fly to one of the most prominent places in crypto that's closest to you and most accessible to you. So yeah, I'm excited to see which places emerge over time.
Yeah, I was talking with someone from Eternity Blockchain, and they're based in Liechtenstein. And Liechtenstein is interesting. It's sort of the new hip place to found up, both because it's beautiful, you live in the mountains, and also because the government is like 5 people, all of whom are very favorable right now to to crypto. I mean, this guy has sat down with the Prince of Liechtenstein and hung out and been like, "Yo, can we do this this token here?" And he's like, "Yeah." So. And it's in the EU. I mean, Zug, Crypto Valley is Zug, Switzerland, and Zug is fairly crowded. It's fairly expensive, but it is still very popular to operate in. But yeah, there's still question marks over who's going to be the winner going forward.
Yeah, I was going to say that it has become quite Europeanized, the whole crypto culture. That I'm surprised that we don't hear much from Asia. Like, we know that China had become very prominent in terms of mining, but because of some of the government crackdowns recently, I think it's very unfortunate that has happened, because it's very important that we have a place like China that is on the cutting edge of technology and all types of tech that is out there. I think it's very important that they are engaged in this ICO blockchain world more than they are today. But I guess that's down to their government, and it'd be very unfortunate to see them left behind in blockchain development.
I wonder if there's just a bias in the news that we're watching, man. Because I mean, think of it. We've had 3 different Asian ICOs on our show, right? And we had JWC Ventures, we had Mithril, and I thought we had a third one.
There's been a few. You're right. There has been a few we've been hearing about, but it's kind of
Singapore is a huge hub.
Yeah, and you're right. Singapore is doing very, very well, and possibly because some of those Chinese companies are moving to Singapore. But maybe it will be Singapore will become the prominent place for all ICOs. I do feel China's making big mistakes in shutting the door, but maybe it's just trying to get its head around all of these things because of how it works as a country in terms of government structure, that blockchain is there to go against the government structures of China, for example. So we will see if they come up with their own versions of ICOs, maybe have their own version of the blockchain, who knows. But this opens up a huge opportunity for Singapore then, because a lot of these guys could be moving their funds and their capital there, and maybe Singapore does become that central hub for Asia.
I think one of the things that goes on is because conferences are so sort of central and integral to the ICO culture, to getting investors, to promoting your ICO. I think that there's a bit of regionalism and regional bias in sort of the news we hear about ICOs, because I was talking to some guys at the Crypto Asset Conference and they said Europe has nothing on China.
Wow.
Like, you go down there and, you'll get people, saying, "Oh, I'm going to buy out your whole ICO, all 40 million, from the first step." And they don't mean it. That's just the way negotiations go down there. But from what I was told is that, you'll meet all of these guys that are really gung-ho about it, and then you sit down and then the real negotiation begins. And it usually will land somewhere between $1 and $3 million worth of ether that they'll invest. But they said like it's much more bullish in China is generally what I've been told.
Wow.
But again, I haven't experienced this firsthand. It's on my to-do list. Go to a couple of events in China and just see what the mood and the difference is.
I think that's very interesting, because then we're all going down the wrong path in terms of impression of how that landscape is developing in China, especially if you're an investor, because now you're thinking, okay, why would I want to buy tokens in an ICO that's from China when the government could come in and just shut it down any day? So it's probably something that we're not very well informed of, and it's a pity, because it's very hard for us to get this information. It's a different language, different script in terms of communications, so we can't really read the news in China. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what will come out of it over time. Like, I'm always on Bloomberg following all the latest news, and I need them to sort of tell me what's happening in China, and it seems to be very dark. They're not getting much information at all. And I think because of the fact that there are no exchanges now in China, we don't see any Chinese currency be converted into Bitcoin or Ethereum. So naturally, we just assume there's nothing going on over there. So we could all be really shocked in the future, in a year's time, when all of these ICOs in China take over the world.
Yeah, there is a bit of an information bias, right? Like, especially if we're getting our information off of Bloomberg and these Western sources, then we won't have this in. That's why I found it so interesting just to speak to people, at the CAC who are a little more worldly than I am. I also wanted briefly to tell you about the guy that wrapped up the conference, because I found this absolutely fascinating. It was the end speech was by Pavel Kravchenko, and I've asked him if he'll come on the show, actually, and he said he'd be glad to. So hopefully we'll get him to talk a bit more in depth about this. But what he was saying, and he told me this the first day I arrived, is that there is no such thing as a utility token. And I found this to be rather provocative to say. And his final speech was about the utility token and how there's no such thing as it. And so briefly, I'll give you the summary, and then we can maybe have him on in a future episode to explain more in detail. But briefly, a utility token is generally how you classify a token that isn't an investment, it isn't a security, it sits in this gray area. We do expect the price to go up, but we expect it to be used as a currency, and we expect it to be like a representative of an asset. It's sort of got three different qualities to it. It's not quite a currency because it's not stable. It's not quite a investment because it's used in the system. It's sort of like a software license, but it's bizarre. And so it's hard to regulate. And he said, well, the reason that it's hard to regulate is because it really should be three tokens. Okay. What he's saying is that a business should have three separate tokens: an asset token, which represents physical assets in the real world, or data, or whatever. It's representing assets that would be traded. You've got a currency, which should be stable, and most companies don't need to issue their own currency because you could use Ether or Bitcoin. And then you have an equity token, which you would expect to go up as the value of the company goes up. And because we're combining all of them, essentially you create this sort of unstable environment where you're selling one type of token that everyone expects to go up and can lead to Ponzi schemes. And he said sort of the perfect Ponzi that you can do, and most utility tokens actually do boil down to this. I don't know if I agree with him yet, but there's something rings true with it. He said, imagine a model where you have a fixed number of tokens, and then you sell a good or a service, like say water in a vending machine. So you have 1,000 tokens, fixed amount. You're selling water in a vending machine, and you say it's €2 or $2, but we'll offer a 50% discount if you buy with tokens. So then what happens is people buy the tokens, and then they use the tokens to buy the water, and there's fewer tokens in the system, and so the price goes up. And so people see the investment in tokens paying off, and the price goes up, and it's sort of like the tulip thing. It's like eventually the price goes very high, and the first one to jump and sell off their tokens is going to win, and everyone else loses. And he said, what's interesting is that even in the complicated scenarios, most utility tokens boil down to this because they combine those three different tokens into one. Now, it's a very provocative thing to say. He might be right.
Yeah,
I have to devote more brain power to this, but it's very interesting what he has to say.
yeah, like he is right on a few of his points, because when I look at ICOs, I ask myself, what is this token? What does it represent? To me, I just see it as a tradable thing that is involved in a tradable activity. I don't see it as an equity, because there's no law protecting me as if it was an equity. But going back to your point on water, so just say it represents something in a trade, and I need to give 10 tokens to receive a good, like for example a bottle of water, and then you have less tokens in the system. This is something that I keep asking myself. Okay, what happens to those 10 tokens I use to buy the water? Is it given back to the company and then they resell it on the market again, so they keep the same amount of tokens in circulation to keep the price stable? Or has anyone become aware of this problem, that the more successful they become, the more their tokens are taken off the market? And we don't hear enough about people talking about this. I think it's assumed that it'll take care of itself, and this could be a sort of time bomb that is in the system. But as long as the price goes up, no one really cares or wants to ask those questions. And the thing about blockchain and ICOs, this is all extremely new, and I think that I wouldn't be surprised that if there's some mega crash, like we already had this big correction in February, but I wouldn't be surprised that if there were to be a global downturn, a bit similar to 2000 and the 2007 to 2008 financial crisis, I wouldn't be surprised if that type of global downturn would really bring down a lot of these companies, because they've run out of cash, run out of means to continue their projects, and then we'll have that conversation of, okay, what does a token really mean? Because I think he has hit on some very good points, but I don't think people are prepared to actually tackle them and really figure out the best means to explain a token and the best means to apply value to a token. So yeah, I agree with a lot of his points, but and we should have him on the show. I love to hear what he has to say, because it is important that people have dialogue on this type of issue and really figure out what a token represents.
Anyway, yeah, no, it's very true, and it's not an easy thing to hear if you are in the middle of a hype bubble, or if everyone's making money, or everyone's excited. And I mean, it may be that he's wrong as well. It might also not apply to every situation. Like it may be different if it's a decentralized utility token, like if there's no central company, for example, if it's a protocol. But nevertheless, it's important to have this conversation, probably earlier than later. But I think people will be more ready for it after, like, if a crash happens, if and when, because when people are making money, no one wants to question. When people are losing money, that's when the hard questions have to be tackled.
Exactly. We all thought that crash had come, but looks like it was a false dawn. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, but I mean, whether a crash or not happens, I mean, I still believe in this tech, and I still believe in the fact that this is, there's something underneath the hype that is fundamentally going to change the way in which the economy works. And this is the beauty of it. Is, as everyone says, like the internet was in the 90s.
Exactly.
So,
I've often made the comparison to social media. When social media took off, a lot of people were saying, okay, it's valued at, like, Facebook is valued in the billions. Why? Like, it's not making money. And eventually people find out revenue models. They figure out a way to make it profitable. So yeah, a lot of people really question the how finance and economics works with blockchain, but they will figure it out and it will become mature, stable, and as you said, it's going to be the future.
yeah. Well, we should wrap up here, Neil. I wanted to mention a couple of upcoming things. First of all, we have become media partners with the Zero In on Tech conference. So we want to promote them. It's Zero In on Tech conference is happening on the 18th and 19th of April in Amsterdam. And we've got some discount codes for people. So those will be in the show notes. We got we've got a 25% discount for public promotion, and there's a limit of 15 tickets. So first 15 people to enter the discount code will get the tickets, and the link will be in the show notes. And second, I just wanted to mention that we've got our next Blockchain Unpacked live event in Berlin booked. It will be on the 29th of March. And we've got a special guest. It's the CEO of Arweave. Arweave is a decentralized file system, sort of like interplanetary file system, but IPFS, but it's a little bit different in the way they've organized it. And I managed to get to snag a teaser interview while I was at the Crypto Assets Conference. So as we sign off, I will leave with that teaser interview. Did you have anything else to add before we sign off there, Neil?
All that I have to add is that this week I will have my own episode going through the main.
Oh yeah,
going through the main news and highlights of the week, just so then I keep you up to date. Ideally, the shows would be 5-10 minutes long, and so you know everything you need to know about crypto. So you're on top of things, and you know what the latest ICOs are that are interesting, and how things are going, so you can enjoy your life and not have to spend too much time on Twitter and Google trying to keep up to date with blockchain.
The Neil news, man. When are you going to post it?
I haven't decided yet. Probably on Friday night. Friday night.
All
Yeah,
right,
Friday. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
That's cool. So yeah, if when we post the Neil news on Friday night, by all means, join us on our Slack. Sign up for the Slack if you haven't already, and tell us what you think. If you like the new format, if you like the new segment, we're going to be experimenting here with different segments and formats and see what works. And with that, keep on hashing, and we'll leave you with this interview with Sam Williams from Arweave. Hey everyone, welcome to Analysis in Chains. I'm here with Sam Williams of Arweave. Hi, Sam.
Nice to meet you, Nathan.
So we're here at the Crypto Assets Conference in Frankfurt. We've spent the past day and a half hearing from interesting people in the scene. So tell us a little bit about Arweave and what you're trying to do, Sam.
Yeah, sure. So Arweave is a platform for permanent information storage, essentially. So what we're looking to do here at a broad level is to create an archive of human history and experience that can't be altered or removed after the fact.
So how exactly does it work? So you're basically taking data and you're storing it in a blockchain-like structure? Like, how is it different from something like BigChainDB?
Yeah, so the Arweave uses a novel data structure called a blockweave instead of a blockchain. Essentially what that allows you to do is to shard the data structure across many different computers. And through this system we called proof of accessibility, you can be rewarded for storing parts of the chain.
Okay, so in other words, if I had data that I would want to store in the chain, then I would basically host it in a node on my computer, and then I would also host other people's data as well?
Yeah, so if you're a miner in the system, you host randomly chosen previous blocks in the network, And the more blocks you store, the more hashing competition you can take part in, and so the higher likelihood you are to get a reward. And if you want to use the system for data storage, you just come along, you submit a transaction with the data in, and it gets mined into a block.
Oh, that's very interesting. So how far along are you guys?
Yeah, so our testnet has been running for a few months now. We're ready for launch on June 8th, later this year, which is really exciting. We had a seed token sale back in September. We raised $500,000, and then we got into the Techstars Berlin Startup Accelerator. Yeah, so things are progressing really well.
So tell me a little bit about your fundraising, because I find that interesting. It's always fascinating to hear people's fundraising stories. Now, you did this in the UK, as I understand.
That's
it,
right,
correct?
yeah.
So how did a seed fundraising go? Did you have a lot of legal help?
Yeah, so we had a fair amount of legal support, which was really, well, obviously necessary in this market. Yeah. To get started.
So, but you raised $500,000. Like, was that through friends and family? Was it through crypto whales or?
No, it was through public advertising. We started on coinschedule.com and then got a bit of traction. Started talking to some journalists and things.
Did you have like a Telegram or a Slack, a big crowd?
We have a Discord server where we can talk to everyone that's involved in the project some way or another. It's really, nice community there.
Oh, very nice. How many people are in your community now?
In total, somewhere around 1,700 to 2,000. It's kind of, they're in different segments everywhere, but around that many in total.
So for now that you've done your seed sale, you're moving on to a main sale, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So when should we expect that?
Yeah, I mean, the main sale, the public sale should be starting in a couple of months' time or so, to coincide with the Techstars demo day, in fact. But potential sales before that. And so
that's exciting. Now tell me, we're here at the Crypto Assets Conference. Who are some of the more interesting people you've heard from today?
There's too many to list. It's been a really exciting conference, and particularly there's a bunch of people from different sides of the spectrum here. So there's some people from traditional banking, which I always find interesting to speak to.
Did you hear the guy from the BaFin?
I'm afraid I missed that one.
I also missed it, but I heard that people were saying that he was a little bit harsh on ICOs, saying, "Oh, we're going to beat down the door and drag people out in cuffs," that sort of thing.
I didn't hear very nice things about that one either.
Yeah.
Although, I think eventually they'll come to a pretty clear regulatory framework for it all.
I hope so.
Term.
So, what were you looking for when you came to this event?
Meet people from the community, spread the word about Arweave.
All right. Well, it sounds exciting. Now, what should we expect in terms of development from Arweave in the future?
Well, our software development kit is essentially available right now. Mm-hmm. The test network has been running for months. You can download our web extension and get started archiving bits of the internet, if you like, or uploading your own files through this other system we called Archive It. It goes on the same network. And mainnet is due on June 8th. After that, we'll be focusing on building the developer community, trying to get people to build out these applications we really want to see.
That's exciting. And so if you were to tell, for example, your grandmother in a couple of sentences what problem it is you're solving or what exactly Arweave would do, other than decentralized data or something, how would you explain it to her?
It's easy, this one, fortunately. It's your data can be lost, Grandma. We would like to make it so that you can make sure your data cannot be lost.
It sounds very exciting. Thank you very much, Sam, for taking the time.
Thanks for having me on.